Hey everybody, Jimmy with the Triple C Collective back for another Superhero Saturday for Moon Knight, Episode 5, The Asylum. This episode, just at the top, I really liked it. I've really dug Moon Knight the entire time. I thought it's been really great, top to bottom. I've enjoyed the ride that they've put us on. And this episode is no different. Like, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really great. This episode reminds me a lot of the WandaVision, like penultimate episode, as well, of like doing a little bit of like a walk through history and stuff. And like, so let's let's dive in. Let's dive in into this. And so the episode opens with this watery crevice cave type thing. Some water coming down. It cuts to a woman like yelling, "It's all your fault! It's all your fault!" We get then Mark and Steven like still yelling with Tauret, and then we get Mark back in the office of Haro still screaming in that same like stance that we saw. It's like a great little what is that, like a match cut, jump cut? Either way, it's a great little thing there, and Oscar Isaac is just doing great. This conversation, though, that Haro and Mark have is also really interesting because it gets basically framed that that everything we just saw with Mark Steven at the end of episode 4, Mark here in this office was just talking about all of that and seeing the hippo and everything. And we also get great little back and forth, like at the top of like, as soon as Mark kind of is like screaming and then notices Haro, he's like, "Whoa, why are you? You're not a real doctor. You shot me. Why did you shot me? You're not a real doctor. Why am I here? What's going on?" And Haro's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, I'm not a real doctor, but you know, let's have a conversation here, basically about sense and nonsense. You know, I got here today by taking the bus. You know, you're talking about a rhinoceros that is some sort of in this like fantasy thing for you that um, you know is some fantasy thing of you being a superhero as well, when really you're just here in a medical facility in Chicago. Which, having a superhero from Chicago with DID just kind of makes sense. Like, that makes a lot of sense. Um, but like, so this conversation is really interesting that they're going back and forth because we get what we've always seen from Mark and from Steven, and what we've been basically led to believe for this whole series, that Haro really is the bad guy. Even here, it is some sort of like maybe snake in the grass or whatever kind of thing for it. But we get interesting convers. We get we get Haro's interest in the hippo because it seems to be able to break down the barriers between Mark and Steven, which is something that interests him a whole bunch. And it might be able to understand why, you know, why you're here, and why that when we were discussing this, talking about this boy, you got really upset. And then here we see a different change in Oscar Isaac than I think that we've seen anything before. and watching it with subtitles, it didn't say that like this was like a Jake appearance or anything, but Oscar Isaac kind of gets like all agitated again. We're led to believe that it's still Mark and he's just like, kind of having a little crazy moment. But I honestly felt that grabbing the like pyramid type like glass award thing that was on Haro's desk and like picking it up and getting ready to like, fight with it, it kind of brought something a little bit different than what we had seen up until this point. I mean, Mark is totally capable of doing that and totally capable of beating somebody with an object like that. There's no question. But the initial like launch forward really looked like we saw another, really looked like to me like we saw somebody else there for a few seconds, and then as he gets like kind of restrained, it's like back. I could be entirely wrong. It could have been Mark the entire time and he was just like having his "hey buddy, you want to get nuts" kind of like, maybe more so like a throw to like Batman and stuff kind of moment there. I don't really know, but I feel like we might have seen, that other personality, Jake, the one that we saw in the sarcophagus, but maybe not. I mean, maybe not because like the sarcophagus was closed and nobody opened it, unlike what he did for Steven to get Steven out of there. But they, so yeah, I think we see some Jake there. Then, he gets a shot into the neck, and then kind of like we get a flashback to screaming with the hippo again. And the hippo explains everything that's going on. They're in Duat, the underworld, the city of the underworld, and they're like and Mark's like, whoa, the underworld, like, and the afterlife. And Tauret is like, well, no, not the afterlife, and afterlife. There's many different like there's many different planes and like afterlives that you can like possibly get to. And she starts naming off a bunch. The one that does really stand out the most is the astral plane, or the ancestral plane that they talk about in or that we see, that we witness and we go to in Black Panther and all of that. So we get that, and we get a mention of that here, which is really cool. We did see like the Thor trailer get dropped just recently. So I wonder if like now they're trying to like build up all this talk of like different gods and like those kind of realms in the Marvel universe now to kind of get us all like up and going for that kind of stuff, because we're gonna get the season finale of Moon Knight, and then on Friday next Wednesday we get the season finale of Moon Knight. Then we get on Friday. Then we get Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So it'll be interesting because as of right now, Moon Knight doesn't seem to have any greater impact or connection to any of the other like Marvel properties, other than the idea of that, like, yeah, he this is easily connected to other gods that we've seen, like the Eternals, or like obviously Thor and everything that we've seen there, even some of like with the Guardians and all that. So it's going to be really exciting to see how the rest of the series turns out. But getting back into the episode and everything, they're sailing on in I'm sorry, they're not sailing yet. They are Mark and Steven are having a conversation after talking to Toweret and everything that she was explaining about the planes, Mark is like, we're insane. This is exactly what Haro was saying. And Steven's like, what do you mean this is what Haro was saying? Yeah, our doctor, that this is an organizational principle to try and help us cope with like everything that is going on, and Mark starts explaining all of that, talking hippo, bird, uh, we then see Mark push through a door, just some like swinging open doors, and they're sailing. They're sailing to Aru, to the field of reeds. And like Steven's like, right, Tarwin, and Tarwin's like, oh, I see that he's the smart one and understands like what's going on here. And she's like, we've got to balance your hearts. And if your heart is balanced, then yes, everything you just said, Steven, is correct, and you'll be able to go on and live on and have a great, happy life and all of that kind of stuff. So what she does is actually pretty awesome. Is she reaches in, grabs their hearts, rips them out, and it looks like almost it looks like almost just bone, basically, that they kind of take out. It's not even like red or anything, it was just like white. So I don't know if it was meant to look like, I don't know if it was meant to look like a marble thing or what, but basically they she sticks her hand in and it's like takes out the heart, puts both of their hearts, which is odd. That, I mean, it also makes sense that there's two personalities, it's all the same body, so that both of their hearts then would be weighed on the scale at the same time, but they're all unbalanced. And she's like, you got to figure this out. There's no, there's one rule on this boat: no unbalanced scales. Then the rules. So she tells them to go back in there and go down and figure out what they're hiding from each other, so that they can then move on and figure it out and rebalance their scales, so that they can move on and not be taken down into like the sands and become like, I don't know, statues, or I don't know, the sand dune dead or something. I don't know. And so they do that. They go back in. They walk down the hall. They start seeing different memories of Mark and Steven that they've had. There's one that is like very shown like in a reflection of a mirror, and it's just Mark beating a dude senseless. There's another one of like of Steven seeing or I'm sorry of Mark seeing Steven and Conchu changing the night sky, and he was like, oh, that's cool. And there was another memory of like, he's like, hey, what's this? And it's just Mark standing outside in all black on a street, and it's like, whatever, we just move on, like, do you want to just revisit every single memory of mine? And like Steven's like, oh, so you do remember this. And then there's a scream. We hear like a young child, what turns out to be a young boy, scream. And they go into a new room, and this is this new room that they go into, as Steven so elegantly calls it, a cafe of dead, and it's all filled with the people that Mark have killed, and it's just rows and rows of all kinds of different, people, men, women, whatever. Then there is, as they're looking around, they're trying, Steven's trying to like comprehend all of this that he's kind of taking in here. And like Steven's like, why do you remember them all? Like, why wouldn't you try and forget it? And Mark was like, once you, if you killed someone, believe me, you would, you would remember it. It would haunt you as well. And it's one of those things where they start to get to know a little bit more about each other, which is really cool. Because I mean, for this whole like show, they've basically been at odds with each other. Um, Other than in the case of trying to keep Layla safe, basically. That's the one thing that they've really been of a team for, and not killing slash like hurting kids. That's another thing that like Stephen was like, whoa, Arthur Harrow, you want to kill kids? Like you would do that for like you would kill them for something that they would do like possibly in 30, 40, 50 years from now? Like that's crazy. And so this is all great, but they get to a new room with the dead bodies, and then there is a child, a young boy who presumably is the same boy that we heard scream earlier, that drew them to the room. Uh, we get Steven very upset, like, why is there a child here, Mark? Mark, why is there a child here, Mark? Don't follow him. Steven, like, like Mark's like, don't follow him, Steven. Don't follow him, Steven. But Steven, of course, is trying to find this kid and figure out what's going on with this kid. Uh, Steven ends up going into another room, locks the door, and locks the door and locks Mark out of the room. And so Steven goes deeper. Steven sees his mom in a backyard with his dad, and a barbecue is happening here. And at this barbecue, we see Roro, who we presume to be the younger brother to Mark here. And we see Roro drawing a goldfish with one little fin. With like one normal fin and one little fin, like we saw before. Just like we saw when we were originally introduced to Steven in the London flat and everything like that, with his little fish. Uh, this is wild. I didn't think that we would. I didn't know like what we would be seeing here, like how much we'd be seeing of like family or anything like that, or where like the trauma and anything happened, and like But this is like a nice little like memory. He's like, hey, it's like the family grilling time and all of that stuff. Like it's all really great. Mark then asks his brother, Roro, hey, let's go to the cave and like play. They leave, they tell their mom, hey mom, we're going, bye. They leave to go play in a cave or whatever. A little, which is like that watery crevice. I can only assume that we saw at the beginning of the episode, which spoilers it is. And as they start walking to where this like cave crevice is, they Steven, is still walking through this. So Steven is seeing this memory because or is seeing it or remembering it at least, because he remembers this. Like he's like, oh, I remember, all of this. And then he follows the boys into the cave and stuff, and he's like, and like he doesn't really know what's going on because he doesn't remember this. He doesn't, it doesn't seem to remember this or know about this or anything like that after like, once they leave the backyard basically. And Steven's following him all through the cave. It starts raining and everything. Steven started, he's after him, being like, "Hey, boys, we got to get out of there. We got to get out of there." And then we see the true tragedy of that Mark survives, the water rises into that cave, and unfortunately Roro dies and drowns. And this was heavy. Like, whew, that was tough. That was not that wasn't easy, to watch or anything. And like, it's extremely sad for for Mark. And like Steven seeing this, like Steven actually not like in that moment not realizing that this is just a memory of either, like at this point like he's like, this is either my memory or this is Mark's memory or whatever. Like, well, no, he knows it's Mark's memory because they he saw this kid in the room with everyone else that Mark had killed. What Steven finds out is that this kid Roro is, Mark's brother, and then finds out how, he died and everything. And like, it's really sad. It's really sad to see that. And it's just it's just it was a tough one to watch. But Steven, was in the cave watching all of this unfold. Mark is, out in the psych ward, finally gets a door open, and Mark walks in on the day of the funeral or wake for the funeral or wake for Roro. And this is where we also get the other bit from the beginning of the episode of the woman yelling, "It's all your fault." And it's Mark's mom yelling at Mark, "It is all your fault. Why didn't you save him? Why didn't you protect him?" And holy cow, that was equally difficult to see and hear. And holy cow, that was not easy. This is a heavy episode. There's a lot going on. We after there's that blowout, we see young Mark, running up the stairs. Steven, we see, Oscar Isaac, Mark, and Steven in the same room witnessing that. And Mark is like, I'm sorry about that. Like, don't follow him up there. Steven runs up, follows young Mark. Young Mark and his dad are sitting at a birthday. And we see Mark's dad, calling to Mark's mom, like, "Hey, come on, we're gonna blow out his candles, wish him a happy birthday," and stuff. And it is so crazy to see that, like, mom, like, 100% just blames Mark and absolutely resents Mark, even hates Mark. Because then we get another, like, run up the stairs of Steven, and there we see his mom, like, pull up a huge bottle of booze, throw it on the table, or like slam it on the table, and she starts drinking it and all that and whatnot. And it is like she's just like angry and mean, and it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Then they run up the stairs one more time, or Steven tries to run up the stairs one more time. Young Mark closes the door, and Oscar Isaac Mark stops Oscar Isaac Steven and is like, no, not letting you go in there, not letting you go in there. And then we get another, like, cut to of being on the street with Mark and his dad, and Mark being like, why haven't you fixed this? Like, his dad's like, hey son, don't leave, don't go, don't do this. Like, we can fix this. We can fix this. And he's just like, why haven't you fixed this? We've had so much time to fix this, and you just like haven't. And like, whew, we get a cutback to the to a desert scene, because Mark and Steven, kind of like fight because they're trying to figure out, like, Steven is still trying to see more into Mark, and Mark is still trying to shut Steven out and keep him out, keep him car keep him in his place, in his little corner, in his little compartment there. And it's awful to see, but like, that's what Mark's doing. That's what he's trying to get done here. But as they fight, they slam into, like, basically another memory, and it's the night that has been in question for so long, where Mark walks Steven through the night that Layla's dad died, and where his old CO, Bushman, turned on him and everyone in that camp and killed them all because he got greedy. We see Layla's dad laying dead, on the ground there. It was sad to see. We see the scene of, like, Mark ready to shoot himself at the foot of, like, the temple or statue inside, like, a temple or whatever, of Khonshu there. And we see then the first time that Khonshu starts to, as Steven so elegantly points out, that he was like Steven's like, Khonshu has been manipulating you from the get-go. If this is like how, if what we just saw here like truly transpired, like, he's been manipulating you from the get-go. And it is crazy to think that he is still worth trying to keep and have and, like, protect and work with. We should try and figure something else out like that. And it was really interesting to see that. And we also get to see the first time of, like, we get Khonshu talking about giving the Moon Knight, "You will be my Moon Knight." It was very eerily similar to how Commissioner Jim Gordon, Gary Oldman, talks about the Dark Knight, the silent protector, at the end of the Dark Knight, as Batman on his Batpod goes driving away, being blamed for the death of Harvey Dent and all of that. This intro here from Khonshu about, wow, sorry, that sounded weird. This intro here from Khonshu sounded very, very similar to it, and I liked it. I love the Dark Knight. Dark Knight's a great movie. So that was really cool to see this. After we get that, after we see the origin of Khonshu and we get that, Steven sees baboons, so he runs after the baboons. They're back out onto the deck with Tauret, and she's staring the ship. She's saying, like, there's a bunch of getting a bunch of purple, like, meteorites falling. It's all, and she's saying these are all, like, the unexpected, like, dead bodies. Like, fear is running wild. Like, nobody knows what's going on. And, like, Mark and Steven look at each other and they're like, it's Harrow. He's messing with stuff. He's doing that bad guy thing. Doing that villain stuff. Killing people, basically. Well, not basically. He's definitely killing people, and he's judging people before they need to be judged, which is clearly being an issue here, and which is so much what. And Tauret basically says it as well. He's giving out his justice. they, you know, they're like, we got to get up there. We got to get up there and inside and try and like stop him. You know, we got to try and stop Haro. We got to try and stop this. But we like, you know, how do we do this? Like, how can we do this? You know, you can't just go back up there because you don't have Khonshu anymore. So you're just going to be a body that's shot. So they decide to go back to Osiris. They decide to go to Osiris's gate, and Tawret will send word to Layla about trying to break out and reawaken Khonshu so that Khonshu can come and save them. But my question is, if they do that, wouldn't Khonshu then just make Layla his avatar and be like, you crazy personalities, bye bye? Because Layla, I mean, Khonshu has been saying like this whole series to like Mark, and like it has been like said out loud and verbalized to us that Mark is very worried that, you know, Khonshu will just go after Layla and make Layla the Avatar, and Mark wants to keep Layla safe. Steven also wants to keep Layla safe. Not necessarily by being the Avatar to Khonshu, but would like to keep her away from him and definitely safe. So it was really interesting to see that they tell Tawret to send word to Layla. Then they're inside the ward again. Steven, you know, says that he needs to see the room from like that day that, you know, Mark keeps trying, or that Mark keeps shutting him out. Mark does not want to let, you know, Steven see it. He does not want to do that. Does not want to see Steven. You know, don't we get Oscar Isaac basically just freaking out, saying, no, I won't, like, don't make me go there. You can't make me go there. I won't go there. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to go back there. I will talk about it right here for you. And Steven's like, no, we have to go. And then like we get the whole Oscar Isaac hitting his face and stuff, and it's really great because it looks like Oscar Isaac beat the hell out of himself on that day. It does not look like he necessarily pulled any punches or any slaps, really, so to speak, in that on himself. But despite all of that, he hits himself, and we get another, like, one of those match cuts back into the office with Haro, and they're talking about it. You know, we get this, like, this little, like, hit, and then we get a, like, flicker, and he's back with Haro, and, you know, he's like, whoa, you know, did you inject me with something? And Haro is like laughing, like Dr. Haro, you know, Ethan Hawke is laughing. Is like, ha, we can't involuntarily inject anything into anybody. Are you kidding me? That's illegal. We can't do anything like that. Involuntary sedate people. You know, like, we've just been, you know, you're stressed. We've been at it for hours, reliving, you know, these old memories, which is interesting because it makes it seem like then if everything we're seeing with Haro in the office is real and is meant to be believed as real life, and everything we saw previously was fake and some sort of this fantasy of being a superhero, that, you know, he's at. Now, we can only assume that he's still in Chicago because it's what Haro says. So, do we believe Haro? Do we believe Mark and Steven? I don't know who to believe anymore. But they're talking about, again, Haro is like talking about, hey, we've been reliving all these memories. It's been pretty difficult. It's also interesting to see the jumping back between the ward, the outside, like the ward with the memories, inside with Haro, and then on the boat with Tarwet. and how they're all kind of like bouncing around and stuff. It's really great. It's really awesome. But Haro asks the really difficult question, and a question that's like really been on my mind, and I'm sure many other viewers' minds, is: did Steven create Mark, or did Mark create Steven? And that's the question. That's the question. Who created who? Who is the original or the primary? Nobody knows except for Mark or Steven. And at this point, both Mark and Steven clearly believe that they are the prime, or the main one, the main man, if you will. And Haro is like, Mark, can you open up to Steven? And Steven, remembers the room. Not everything, but we get a flashback, basically, like back to like the memories that we were seeing before. Steven is in that memory of the room that Mark has been trying to keep Steven away from, where young Mark is being tormented by his mother yet again. His mom chased Mark into the room, starts banging on the door. You need to open up this door, blah blah blah, yelling, screaming all these horrible things at him. It's pretty awful. Like, damn, that mom is it's pretty bad. She's mourning and she's grieving, but she's also taking doing horrible, awful damage to her other son that is so unjustly put on him. It's awful. It's awful. But despite all of that, Mark and Steven are here. They are seeing it, and Steven finally sees that Mark changes into Steven, and that Mark has a poster of the Tomb Raider, or the Raiders of the Tomb, or whatever, that Dr. Stephen Grant, when when danger's near, Stephen Grant will have no fear. And Mark admits that I made you, I made you, to deal with this, to have this happy life, to not have this, these bad memories of our, of mom and stuff. And because we see their mom come in and beat Mark with a belt, she takes a belt. I'm going to teach you a lesson. And like Oscar Isaac, Mark was like, you weren't supposed to see that. That's the whole point of you, and all of that. Steven does hit Mark, which which is rightfully so. Steven's upset, but Steven's like, "What am I? I was just your emotional stress ball. Like, come on, you made me to just be an emotional stress ball. That's why I'm so tense and everything. I thought I was the original. I thought so, but it turns out you are. Like, come on, that sucks. That like really sucks." And Mark's like, "Well, I wanted you to have a better life, one where she didn't torment us, where our mother didn't hate us, beat us, and where she was still alive." And Steven's like, "What?" And Steven starts screaming like, no, what did you say? And Steven now is in Haro's office, and Steven is awake, inside the White Office and everything like that, all in his clothes. And like, Harrow's like, oh, whoa, hey, Steven, I was worried we may never talk again. I was worried that you were gone, and we would never be able to see you again. You know, and Steven is like backing off, and he's like, "Oh, you've got a stash up there. You're very Ned Flanders like, like you you've lied to me." Steven does not believe anything Harrow is saying or kind of putting down here. Finally, we get the idea, or not the idea, Steven, we get told by Harrow that Steven brought him and Mark here after Steven found out that his mother had died. And Steven starts freaking out some more. He's like, no, 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 no. What do you mean? Like, my mother's not dead. My mother's not dead. And it is tough because Steven is so believable, but Harrow's like, nope. Hold on. Let me get Dylan. Dylan, please call Mrs. Grant. Steven starts breaking down, and Steven admits, my mom is dead. She's dead. We get a flashback then, and that was the first memory that we saw before, where Mark was like, what, do we have to revisit every single memory that I have? And it is the day of their mom's Shiva. We see like their dad signaling Mark to come in, and he's like, nope, not going to. He's walking away in the street, kind of breaking down. I'm not going to give you the satisfaction. Falls to his knees and like crying, and then we see like the eyes roll back into the back of his head, and we see Mark become Steven. And Steven is so confused because Steven, being a British man, is in America, in Chicago, Illinois, up on the north side, on like Milwaukee, I think is the street name that they give out at like a cross street there. And it's like clearly says, and they're driving on the wrong side of the road. It's a great little line that is like very easily missed. And so that memory, Steven walks away as Mark and Oscar Isaac present, trying to balance their scales. Steven and Mark, her Shiva was 2 months ago. Mark's like, that's when our lives started to blend together. That's when, I just like couldn't face it. Everything, all of these things and stuff, like it all just like hit when I saw that. And Steven's like, Mark, it's not your fault. It's not your fault, Mark. It's not your fault. All those horrible things she said to you, all those horrible things she did to you, it's not your fault, Mark. It's not your fault, man. Steven's like, you were just a child. But they hear this like huge like crashing thing, and it's like, oh God, we still need to stop. I think we stopped. Like, the ship has stopped. And that's exactly what it was. They get to the gates. The gates are there. Scales aren't balanced. Tarwit's like, I don't know what else I can do for you guys. There's nothing really else I can do. And, your scales aren't balanced. I can't help you any more than what we've done trying to get to Osiris's gate. Like, they're coming for you, and I can't help defend them. So she kind of leaves. We get the undead sand zombies basically are coming, and they come and attack. Mark tries to fight them and hold them off the best he can. Mark gets a little bit overrun. Steven starts steering the boat one way and the other to try and like throw off the balance and everything. As good as it like frees Mark from the sand zombies, it also allows a sand zombie to get like almost like a big old pipe or a monkey big old like monkey wrench kind of looking thing and crack Mark across the face with it and like give him a nice little like daze, like he's seeing stars, maybe even little Tweety birds. Um, Either way, it's a great little like battle fighting off all of this stuff, all of these guys and these like sand zombies. That's what I'm calling them. I'm calling them sand zombies. I don't know what else we could really call them because they're just like undead people from the sands. That's the man. That's just what it is. But we get Steven stepping up when Mark, gets hit in the face and is basically knocked out. He starts playing some cricket with that same baseball bat. A sand zombie starts pulling Mark overboard from like it's basically like Mark is being pulled over the edge of the boat from a sand zombie that had just crawled up the side of the boat from the sand, and Mark is getting pulled over. Steven runs up, knocks himself over, and knocks the zombie off of Mark, and then Steven falls into the sand. Steven falls and starts running and becomes a stone statue there. Then, bam, the scales are balanced. And Mark, then we get a change for Mark, and he enters City of Reeds, and it becomes this really great like almost wheat kind of looking field, this gold looking thing. It really gave me a feel of at the end of Gladiator with Maximus and that whole ending and his afterlife thing and stuff like that. We get this really old timey 40ish style, like I feel like a 40ish kind of style music, and that all kind of blends in again with that reminder of like Gladiator, and then the episode ends. And let me just say, this episode was awesome. I really liked it. I have really liked all of Moon Knight so far. We didn't get any Layla, which was a little upsetting, but I mean, hopefully we'll see more of her and more of. I mean, we got a little bit of Moon Knight in the suit. We didn't get him like kick punching or anything like that, but we got a little bit of Moon Knight in the suit. I am hoping we get a little bit more Layla in next week's season finale and series, finale basically. I'm really excited. I've really liked this show. I really like Oscar Isaac. He is doing a really great job with it. We have not heard about any kind of other appearance of Moon Knight because Oscar Isaac is like, man, I am not signing those kind of crazy contracts where you lock me in for all this stuff. Like, I like being able to bounce around. So I don't know. I have no idea what will happen at the end of next week's episode, but I am so excited for this show. This show has been such a fun watch. It's been so great. I am Jimmy with the Triple C Collective. I would like to thank you for this. I'd like to thank you for joining me on this Superhero Saturday for Moon Knight, Episode 5, The Asylum. You all stay safe. Have a great day.